Welcome, everyone, to the Meaningful Hearts podcast, where we discuss the everyday questions that make us or break us if we let them. I am your host, Drew. Take my hand and let's walk this journey together. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Meaningful Hearts podcast 40th episode. And today I want to talk about what's more important to you, because I always think about what's important to me. And sometimes I have to change it up a little bit or maybe just fine tune it, right? I got to fine tune what that is that I want. I'm always digging and listening to other podcasts or other brilliant minds. Seth Godin is one of many great minds that I listen to. Guy just has the answer for everything. I mean, honestly, he's like a Yoda. He talks about so many things, and being put into perspective, what is important to us. I think about that a lot. You know, as the world around us changes constantly, and people in business trying to figure out where they're going to fit in the future. And you have to kind of put your priorities into perspective, right? How am I going to survive? What am I going to do? What am I not going to do? You know, the importance of all that stuff. That's an idea of trying to see what's important. But for me, I'm trying to see where my future lies in what I'm doing and where I'm going with it. So the importance of what I'm doing, the importance of this podcast, the importance of all the materials that I speak upon, and how they're going to help further every one of you as well as myself, because this is therapy for me as well. Where does all that play in? And is this going to, if this podcast blows up to a crazy audience, or it falls flat, will I deviate and do something a little bit different? Am I chasing money? Am I chasing fame? Am I chasing just doing this, right? Doing it for the sake of it. Now, the reason why I bring all this up, not to say that I'm chasing money, but Seth Godin, made a statement saying that, work on the process, regardless, just do it. He's written over 30, 40 books. He's been blogging since the mid 90s. Guy is dedicated, but he said that he started off, doing an email list, an opt-in email list, just in essence to show his grandmother that what he did for a living, like what his job was. It was kind of just more of a justification for what he did. He was always going to do it and always show up for it, but that's how it started. And then obviously, fast forward, him going into blogging per se, and having an email list that extends, to the end of time. I think there's so many people that subscribe. He has, thousands and thousands or up to tens of thousands of people that probably visit his posts on a daily basis, or if not more. He's a well-read individual, and he's one of the, marketing geniuses. The man speaks on marketing. It's just incredible. I'm not trying to get off topic here. But what I'm saying, what he said was, don't slight yourself on the actual action or craft of what you're doing, just to get to the outcome. Because what if the outcome is crap? You're just going to stop doing it, or you're just going to impede on the process of what you're doing. In other words, don't rush to finish just to get a desired outcome. Don't build something just because it might be a chance at financial freedom. Don't try to hack that part of it to gain on that, because you might not gain anything. You might not gain anything at all. So, in essence, what I'm trying to say is, what is important to us? What is important to me? What is important to you? Now, this could be neither here nor there as far as what, you might not ever get into podcasting or creating content, but there are things that you do in your life for specific reasons. There are a lot of different reasons why we do things in life. A lot. And sometimes we do things out of emotion. We do things because it's appropriate at the time because we're in dire need of something. We're in dire need of this specific outcome to happen in order for us to get past this hurdle in our lives. I took this job because I needed it, because I needed to pay a bill. And then all of a sudden you get really involved in this specific job and it takes over what other interests, the things that you had going forward. Maybe you aspire to be a clothing manufacturer, or maybe you wanted to start a brand or something. And then, you needed some seed money to get started. So you took a part-time job to get some extra money to get the seed money you needed to get the brand going. And you never start the brand and you realize, wow, I'm starting to make a lot of money doing this. It's not like a career job, but it's extra money in my pocket. So you deviate completely. And then a couple of years pass by and then you're fully submerged in this job. And I don't know, maybe you quit your other job and you do this full time just because it pays more, not because it's a career, it's the career that you wanted to, because you let money become more important to you than building that brand that you said you wanted to build. Not to say that you didn't want to build that brand anymore, but you keep saying, oh, I'm going to get to it. And here you are not getting to it. So it's always good to clearly define what our priorities are, what is important to us. And we lose track of that sometimes. You ever walk on the beach, or you ever go into the water in the beach, and then you know where your towel is set on the shore. You look back at it, where all your belongings are. You're in the water, you're swimming, and you're just in there playing in the water. And next thing you know, you're way past where you were initially aligned with all your belongings. And you're like, how did that happen? And it happened so quickly. I lost track of time, or I was just in the water having fun. But that water keeps pushing you and you keep moving along. Well, what do? You get out of the water and you kind of realign yourself. You don't want to get too far down the beach. That's a long hike back, and you want to be able to run back to your belongings if need be, right? Well, it's a similar thing with what life does to us in a sense, right? We get caught up in all these distractions and all these things, and we deviate from our plans. Or maybe what we planned to do, what we thought we wanted to do, we didn't have a strong enough urgency or passion for it. And that's okay. That's okay, because that happens. That happens sometimes, where you think you're really into something, but you're really not. But at the same time, there are other things that seem a little bit more fun, because there are a lot of things that you have to do that aren't as fun to get to the next step. So you say, yeah, I'm going to do this. This is more fun. Maybe I'll watch some Netflix, or maybe I'll go to the ball game. Maybe I'll go on vacation, or maybe I'll just submerge myself in partying a little bit, or maybe, I don't know, I'll read a couple of fiction novels or whatever. You do something other than the thing that you're trying to get to, because it's more fun. You're going to reap some benefits from it as far as excitement and entertainment. And listen, we do that from time to time. But it becomes a habit, because the next day you want to do it again. Next day you want to do it again. Next day you want to do it again. And then you burn through 6 months. Oh, the holidays are here now. Oh, I got to take a week off or two because I'm going to see a lot of family. Family's going to come into town. And then next thing you know, that month has passed by, and then you're completely off track. You're not as driven anymore. You're so into being relaxed and casual about everything that you kind of forget about the importance of what you were trying to do. It's always good to be honest with ourselves and say, hey, I fell off track and I need to get back on it. But I need to get back on it right now. Not tomorrow, not the day after. Because I will tell you, you put something off for the next day, and you're going to put something off for the day after and day after. It's just, you're used to it. Your body's at rest, your body's going to stay at rest, and it's easier just to give yourself another excuse. But you got to break it up. You got to break it up. You got to break up that rest. You got to break up that cycle by just getting the action and starting it. Something. Just get a little leeway towards what you're trying to do. But you got to start. You have to start right away. But you also have to have a plan, of course, right? We talked about plans. But the importance of what you're going to do has to be stressed. You have to really clarify what is important to you. even if you have to take a piece of paper down and just dissect, maybe the past few months, the past few weeks. What did you do? What did you do in that time frame? And rate and try to rank what you did most of the time. And there you could say, well, that was pretty important to me. And if it's not a good activity, you're wasting a lot of time, right? So then you got to say, well, I got to make a new list, and I got to stick to this list, and I got to get these things done. And I have to see, and then I have to justify why these things are important to me, right? You want to be able to say, hey, this is my driving force behind why I'm doing this, right? Your why is very important. If you don't know why you're doing something, why it's important, you're never going to do it. There's no justification behind it. I could tell you going to the baseball game, a why behind why I'd want to do that. It's because I'm going to have some beers. I'm going to watch a really good baseball game. I enjoy the team that I'm watching. There's justification there. So it's easy to, somebody asks me, want to go to the game? Of course. But if you have a driving force behind why you're trying to accomplish something in your life that exceeds the why of something else that's not as important or has entertainment value, you'll be able to justify why you're staying home instead of going to that ball game. You'll be able to justify why you're not going to go out with your friends or spend that extra money or go on that vacation, because you're focused, you're locked in. This is what's important to me. But you have to be honest with yourself and say, this is what is important to me now. This is. And if anybody asks or questions it, tell them why. It's always good to reinforce it because it makes you feel more convinced as well. It's okay. Life is hard. Life has a lot of distractions. We do this with so many different things in our lives. Nothing is worse than telling somebody, this annoys a lot of people. When they say they haven't had time, you're just like, no, it's not that you didn't have time. It just wasn't important enough to you. Because people find time for the funniest things. People always find time for excursions, last minute fun things. But when it comes to taking hold of your life and doing the work, that's when it gets interesting. That's when people come up with the excuses. And excuses can come from fear. Excuses can come from laziness. Excuses can come from poor planning. I'm not ready yet. Or in essence, I really haven't done anything to be prepared to be ready. So I always want it to be clear that you have to stress the importance of things. And that comes from planning, managing, and scheduling your activities. Set up a day, set up hours that you're going to work on this thing. Keep yourself honest, have a schedule, and stick to it. And believe it or not, you'll slowly, over time, stick to the schedule because you'll be trained to do it. Just like fitness or anything else, or whatever you do throughout the day, I'm sure that you have habits throughout your work day or whatever you do that you stick to. Some people wake up, first thing they do is grab for the coffee. Next thing they do is maybe pop on their phone and see something real quick. See what the day's looking like, what the weather's looking like. Then they go into the bathroom and get themselves ready for the day. After that, they come out, they getting dressed before they head out the door. Maybe they'll make themselves another cup of coffee, and pet their dog. I mean, it seems like the day that they've had almost happens every day, Monday through Friday, right? The average work week. They do the same things. It's a habit. It's a routine. They're used to it. It just works, right? Well, you have to do the same thing. You have to kind of break that cycle and add things to that routine, and then make that become cyclical, where when you get home from work, you don't crash on the couch and then eat Chinese food and pass out watching TV. You say, okay, well, I'm going to have some food, debrief real quick, get my mind right, pull out my computer or whatever I'm doing, and I'm going to sit down for an hour or two and work on this thing. And that's the 2 hours you spend doing that. And then whatever, you could allow yourself to maybe have a little fun after that. 2 hours here, 2 hours next day. 2 times 5 is 10, right? You spend 10 hours a week working on your thing, whatever that is. It's a blog post, a podcast, a video, your business plan, your brand building, whatever it is that you're doing. If you're putting in your hours and you're doing it and keeping yourself honest at it, you'll feel a lot better in the future about what you're doing. And believe it or not, you'll add another hour. You know what? I'm getting progress on this. I want to add a little more time to it. Before you know it, you'll be spending a lot more time doing that thing and less time doing things that don't matter. But you have to stress the importance of what you're doing. You have to stress it to yourself. It has to be justifiable. People only do things that are justifiable to them. If they don't understand it, they don't get it, or it doesn't make sense to them and it's not logical, they're not going to do it. Human beings are funny like that. We all do this. Whether we subconsciously do this or not, this is how we are. Everything that we interact with in life has some psychological value to it. What gets sold to us, what we purchase, what we watch on TV, how we act online, all these things, we do things for a specific reason. We react to certain things. Certain things cause us to act in a certain way. This is no different. But if you're alive and you're conscious of what you're doing, and you stress the importance of what you're doing, and it's logically there where it's justifiable, write your why down. Pull out a piece of paper. If it's something that you want to do, write your why and why you want to do it. What's your mission? What's your purpose? Find that. Finding Your Why, Simon Sinek. That book is amazing. That's a great book. That's a great read. Read it. You want to start there? Start there. Start there. It's amazing. It's amazing what that book can do for you and where it could help you start jogging your mind towards that thing. Find your purpose. The founder of the Tom's shoe brand, his mission, his why is for every pair of shoes that is purchased, a child gets a pair of shoes, I believe. So there's it's a philanthropy, right? It's charity. It has a purpose. His mission is to help the less fortunate in other countries that don't have as much, right? That's his mission. That's his why. If he ever loses alignment with himself, he could say, I remember why you're doing this, and realign himself. You have to do that. You have to stress the importance of what you're doing and why you're doing it. But you have to be able to justify that. If there's no justification behind it, you're going to lose sight of it. There's going to be no reason or no point in what you're doing. That's why I always tell you, don't chase money. Don't. Because once you get it, you're going to lose yourself. You're going to be like, now what? And it's really understandable why people who come across a lot of money lose sight of what their life is about, and they kind of do odd stuff in Hollywood. And you can say, how could somebody with so much money go nuts, lose themselves? Well, they don't have a purpose. There's no purpose to what they're doing. And sometimes they snap out of it and they normalize and say, hey, listen, I lost it for a moment, but I'm back and I know why I'm here. I mean, musicians do it. Sometimes they lose sight of their music and it's like, oh, I have this money, I'll just stop making music for a while and forget where they do it. But then an epiphany comes back. So, I remember why I'm doing this. I remember the importance of it. Or I fell out of love with it maybe. And it evolves into something else. But you have to have a purpose. There has to be something there. There has to be a driving force behind why you're doing something. Finding the importance in all that. That's why I'm asking you, what is important to you? What is important to you? Whatever it is, explain it. Whether it's your dog, your spouse, the reason why you wake up every day. Whatever your mission is, figure out what's important to you. Really, write it down. Talk about it. Talk about it with your friends. Ask your friends. Ask people around you. We live on this planet with over 1 billion people. We interact with people all the time. We talk with plenty of people, our friends, our family, social media. I mean, we interact with people we barely know. Go through that process. Have a little fun with this. You don't have to be all uptight about it either. I really want to know. Find the best version of you. Find what's important. and make that change and drive yourself forward to something that you really love or you really enjoy. I love you all. Thank you for listening to today's podcast. And if you ever have any questions, of course, please reach out to me on the Meaningful Hearts Podcast at gmail.com or at IG. Thank you. God bless.